I was in the middle of a long workday when my phone began to buzz over and over again. At first, I ignored it, thinking it was just another group chat. But the notifications didn't stop. Finally, I glanced down, and the moment I saw what everyone was talking about, my heart stopped. It was a post from my girlfriend, Emily, a photo of her lying in a hospital bed. Her face looked pale, and 4 lines ran into her arm, and the caption said, "Saying goodbye to this chapter, broken heart." The post was already flooded with comments. Dozens of people had written, "You're so strong, stay positive, we're praying for you." I scrolled in confusion, trying to understand what chapter she was talking about. Was she sick? Did something happen? I hadn't heard from her since last night, when she said she wasn't feeling well and would stay over at her friend's place. I immediately called her. No answer. I texted, "Emily, what's going on? Are you okay?" Nothing. The pit in my stomach grew heavier by the second. I couldn't focus on anything else, so I told my boss I had an emergency and left work. The hospital's name was tagged in her post. I drove there as fast as I could, rehearsing every possible scenario in my head. Maybe she'd collapsed. Maybe she had a panic attack. Maybe something worse. When I arrived, I rushed to the reception desk, nearly out of breath. "Hi, I'm looking for Emily Harper. She posted a photo from here today. I'm her boyfriend." The nurse checked the system, frowned, and said, "She was here earlier. But she was discharged about an hour ago." My confusion deepened. Discharged? Already? The nurse nodded apologetically. "Sorry, I can't share more than that." I walked out of the hospital, completely lost. My phone buzzed again. Another notification. Someone had tagged me in a comment under her post. When I opened it, I froze. Wait, isn't that the guy who cheated on you? It was like the air got sucked out of my lungs. I scrolled further and saw a flood of comments. People were suddenly taking sides. Some sent her sympathy, others turned against me, strangers calling me heartless, cruel, a monster who broke her spirit. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I hadn't cheated. I hadn't even done anything close to that. I tried calling her again, desperate for answers, but every call went straight to voicemail. That night, I drove to her apartment. The lights were off, blinds drawn. I knocked, waited, knocked again. Nothing. Around midnight, my phone finally buzzed, one last message from her. "I need space. Please don't contact me. You wouldn't understand." Then she blocked me everywhere. For the next few days, I barely ate or slept. Everyone who'd seen that post thought I was the villain. Even my coworkers whispered when I walked by. My parents called, asking what was going on. I had no answer for anyone. I was in love with a woman who had vanished from my life overnight, leaving behind nothing but a single photo and a caption that destroyed my reputation. A week later, I got a message from one of her mutual friends, Claire. She wrote, "You didn't hear this from me, but Emily wasn't actually sick. That photo was old, from her appendix surgery months ago. She's been seeing someone new." The hospital post was her way of saying she's done, but she wanted everyone to feel sorry for her, not question her. I just stared at the screen, reading the message over and over. It made perfect sense and yet none at all. The hospital post wasn't a goodbye to life, it was a goodbye to me. A performance. I felt a wave of emotions crash inside me, anger, disbelief, heartbreak. She didn't just break up with me, she wrote a public story where I was the villain and she was the fragile, wounded heroine. I wanted to confront her, scream, show everyone the truth. But I didn't. I just couldn't. Because no matter how angry I was, part of me still loved her. Days turned into weeks. I tried to keep myself busy, diving into work, going for long runs, deleting photos that reminded me of her. Every time I scrolled past her name, it felt like a wound reopening. She had moved on, posting smiles, sunsets, and cryptic quotes about new beginnings. I stayed silent, invisible. But one night, while cleaning my apartment, I found an old notebook of hers. She used to jot down poems and fragments of thoughts. On the last page, there was a half-finished line written in her handwriting. Sometimes we hurt others to feel less broken ourselves. I sat there staring at it for a long time. Maybe that was it. Maybe her post wasn't just cruelty, maybe it was her way of covering pain she didn't know how to express. Still, that didn't make what she did right. She had turned me into a ghost people pitied or hated, all to make herself look strong. Months passed. Life slowly began to feel normal again. I met new people. Laughed again. Even started going to therapy to sort through the mess she'd left behind. My therapist once told me something that stuck: when someone crafts a false story about you, let time be the editor. Truth always survives the rewrite. Then one afternoon, out of nowhere, I saw Emily again. I was at a friend's art exhibition, and she walked in wearing the same blue jacket I'd bought her last winter. Our eyes met briefly, and for a second, every memory came flooding back: our late-night drives, her coffee obsession, the way she used to rest her head on my shoulder during movies. She looked thinner, paler, and there was something behind her smile that felt hollow. She walked over slowly, as if unsure whether she should. "Hey," she said, quietly. "Hey," I replied. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Yeah, same." There was an awkward pause. She bit her lip and looked down. "I heard you got promoted." "Congratulations." "Thanks." I waited, expecting her to say more. Finally, she whispered, "I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I wasn't in a good place back then. I said and did things I shouldn't have. You didn't deserve that." Her words were soft, trembling. For the first time in a long while, I saw guilt in her eyes, not performance, not deflection, just genuine regret. I nodded slowly. "It hurt, Emily. A lot. You didn't just leave, you made everyone think I destroyed you." "I know," she said, voice cracking. "I thought if people pitied me, it would make it easier to move on. But it just made me feel emptier." We stood there in silence. The music from the gallery faded into a quiet hum. For the first time since that night, I realized I didn't feel angry anymore. Just tired. "I hope you're doing better," I finally said. She gave a faint smile. "Trying to." Then she turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. I didn't chase her. I didn't need to. On my way home, I scrolled through my phone and saw her old post again, the one that had once broken me. It was gone. Deleted. The comment section, the drama, the lies, all vanished into digital dust. And somehow, that small act felt like closure. In the following months, I stopped checking her profile altogether. Instead, I started writing again, picking up hobbies I'd abandoned. I volunteered at a local clinic, where people actually were fighting to survive, a place where saying goodbye to a chapter meant something real. One evening, while helping a patient fill out some forms, I realized I hadn't thought about Emily all day. Not once. That realization brought a strange kind of peace, quiet, warm, and freeing. I never posted about her. Never tried to correct the narrative publicly. Because I finally understood something: sometimes, silence speaks louder than proof. When people asked what happened between us, I just smiled and said, it wasn't meant to be. But deep down, I knew the truth: we both broke a little in that relationship. She lost herself in lies, and I lost myself trying to love someone who wasn't ready to be honest. In the end, neither of us won, but we both learned. Months later, I got a message from her. Just one line: "Thank you for not hating me." I replied, "I don't. I hope you find peace." And that was it. No drama, no closure talk, no revisiting the past. Just a quiet exchange between two people who had finally outgrown their pain. Looking back now, I understand that not every heartbreak needs revenge or exposure. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is let go, without bitterness, without proving yourself right. Because when someone writes a false story about you, life eventually writes a better one in return. And mine did.